Do we even need to introduce Kent and Jordan, or are they pretty much?
At this point, is this even necessary?
No, please do.
I have
please
in my
do. I
notes
want to know
here.
what you have to say about me, Brian.
I do, and I actually Velda gave it to me, so I didn't say how I really felt. She said BHIS testers.
Thank you.
Well, that's the nicest thing her and I could come up with.
You didn't call me a liar. You didn't call me a cheat.
Liar.
Well, anybody who
Well,
says
I'd
that
like to
Jock's a good
introduce,
looking man, I have
introduce
words to mix
Kent.
with.
I'd like to introduce Kent and Jordan, who are currently employed with Black Hills Information Service. So,
You are going to question that after this slide deck. There is no doubt.
oh, I don't need that. Not today. I just found out I've got to do a presentation a little bit on how to do White Russians. So I get to talk about all of that.
I'm very
All right.
excited for that. You're lactose intolerant, though. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
I was going to say, that's like me talking about how to hack. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing there.
It's like I'm lactose intolerant and I don't drink alcohol anymore. So we'll probably talk about that, turn it into something serious and heartfelt from John Strand coming up later, 2021.
I think this is something that, John, remember whenever, I think you and I, you mostly, like 99% developed it. Because I remember when I was going through my heavy college phase and I just bought that house from Melissa, I kept texting you, send me your White Russian recipe.
No, that was when you were in Oklahoma.
It was? No. It was definitely, because I remember, I'm not going to get into all the details, but I remember, I meant probably both. But we're trying to kill an extra.
But I sent you the recipe, and then you called me up, and you're like, "Hey, you know that couch that you gave me? Yeah, they threw up everywhere on that couch."
Yeah,
so, maybe
it's a good recipe. It does a good job. You don't even know you're drinking.
See, that's a horrible introduction for Kent and Jordan. Kent and Jordan, after that, take it away.
Here's my White Russian story. Driving down Vale Pass in a Volkswagen Jetta. The brakes toasted on the way down because I didn't know how to drive then. I didn't know you should downshift maybe fourth or a lower gear. Burned out the brakes, ended up spending the night at the Vale Cascade. The snow was lightly falling. There was these hot tubs, and I drank White Russians all night.
Okay, can y'all still see us? We don't know what's happening.
And they bailed, and that's it. Everybody probably missed the.
We still see you.
Oh, I was worried that I don't know. I mean,
He's trying to get up our slides. We should have done that. We made everybody else bring their slides up. So
you can see the slides, right?
Yes.
Stream Deck. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate it.
Worried.
We are all.
We were given carte blanche, basically. We provided a title for our slides and our talk, and it was accepted, which is really nice. So thank you for everyone who just trusts that we'll put together content that is appropriate for this medium, this platform.
Which one? Discord.
That's true.
It's appropriate for Discord too. Hey, we didn't get a proper bio, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. And
we're going to do really long introductions about ourselves. We love talking about ourselves.
It's going to be like a half hour talking about ourselves. Okay, Jordan has not seen this slide. I have a couple things to go over. We worked on this slide deck together. However, there were a couple problems. We needed to clarify some things. We were told yesterday in class that it's unusual seeing one of us without the other one near us, because apparently we show up together a lot. I don't know. Jordan's like my brother. We don't live together. We're like brothers from another mother. I believe we were both born in the same hospital, which is actually now a mental facility. So that's interesting. Jordan's wife, kids, mom, boss, and more has confused me for him, or vice versa. The same thing has happened with me. Those that know me best know that I'm not necessarily gullible, but I don't actually pick up on sarcasm very well. Jordan wrote a lot of sarcasm in this slide deck, and I was very, very confused at first until I realized it was sarcasm. So in some places, I've had to put notes for myself to explain what Jordan was trying to think of. That's all I got. This. Oh, wait, there's one more. There's one more. Yes, there's one more. Every Wild West Hackin Fest so far, it's been 3 so far, right? My birthday, it fell on it while we were like talking during Wild West Hackin Fest. My birthday would be there, and John had like everybody sang for me. It was amazing. And I joked last year because we had to change Wild West Hackin Fest dates, right? Because we wanted to avoid snow and inclement weather. We didn't avoid COVID in the process. However, when we moved the dates, we moved it on top of his birthday. Not just his birthday, but tomorrow is his 40th birthday. But I'm not going to sing for him.
Thank you for that. So feliz cumpleaños a mí. Tomorrow, 40.
Happy birthday. Let's get out of this.
Okay. I honestly did not see that slide, so thank you for all of that. All of those things are relatively true. My kids have confused him for me, and it's a challenging situation. how close we've been over the last 10 years as coworkers and such. That's the best you're going to get for an introduction. But really, what is this about, Kent?
Okay.
Is it about 0 days and all these bypass techniques we have and all these amazing things we want to share about catching like every single bypass technique you could ever want
Yeah,
in
that's
10
what we
seconds or less?
do. Yeah, that's what we. This is the reason I had to put the other slide in there that I don't understand sarcasm very well because I didn't. Eventually, I figured it out when he said blockchain. I was like, oh wait, this is a joke. He said blockchain. I get it. Blockchain's not a joke. It's real.
But really, we are at the point in our careers where we're tired of caring about CVEs and 0 days, and we really just want the world to be a better place. Yes. So I think it was mentioned in Discord that hackers are or have been over the last 25 or 30 years, the internet's kind of safety mechanism, sort of an immune system. This was said by a researcher that was not me, but I read it looking for James Mickens last night. And I thought it was really an interesting take. And I know John has said the same thing. We don't really care about how many CVEs you have. This isn't about that. This talk is not about that either.
It's not. Oh, so we're going to talk a little bit about what it is then. So we've noticed this conference has had a lot of talks about being a good hacker or being a bad hacker or an attacker or the very serious conversations that was terrifying to me, especially when we talked earlier today with some NSA talks and stuff. Very interesting, but terrifying nonetheless.
Yeah, and same with that previous chat from Chloe. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of somber thinking about how difficult it is to do our jobs and skirt like felonies on a daily basis.
I don't want to go to prison. So let's talk about this then. Sucking at capitalism, that's something we do. That has been something that we picked up from John and we ran with, and it changed our lives by thinking about that. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about community a little bit. We're going to talk about being a responsible influencer. That's something John told us early on. He said, hey, if we're going to put you in front of talks and stuff, we want you to be responsible and not drink on camera and
water.
It was water. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about working for a pol-sci, an engineer who helps change the world, the InfoSec world for the better.
This comes back to a lot of us, though. Business degree.
Yeah,
what's BB? BB, if you're out there, can you tell us weren't you a poli-sci and then a
fine arts
theater?
My degree is in theater.
Yes.
It's a fine arts degree, yeah.
So there's a lot of very strange trajectories.
In our background.
Degrees. Nothing wrong with poli-sci degrees at all.
And this slide is about you.
And Jordan, I have an IT degree, but we have business degrees too. So, but we don't actually want to talk about ourselves. So now we're not going to talk about ourselves with not introductions. The first one is about me, apparently.
So this is Kent. He's got a thing for cat gifs. I would love if you all would find some favorite cat GIFs, and post them in Discord. He does have an adverse reaction. He may break down. But anyway,
that happened on a webcast. Someone posted GIFs, and I started laughing. I had to walk away.
His background is entirely everything he's ever done. You could find on Twitter.
You can find it on Twitter, KRelxy. I like to say that hacking is fun and
and cool. Yeah, it's cool. Here, I'm gonna get in front of the camera. Cool.
So yeah, post those.
His kids don't think it's cool because he's never around.
This guy. He likes dad jokes, and I think this morning he had to say, hi, hungry, to one of his kids.
This is not a joke. At lunch, I went home and said, I'm thirsty. Hi, thirsty. Yeah. And I said, oh, I nailed it. It was perfect timing. Everything was perfect. Jordan, and I actually, I hit it.
Jordan's entire life story also on Twitter. You can find it at Rev10D, all last year and a half of it. All right. John, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for our prior marketing department. I'm sorry for Jason. I'm sorry for CJ. You guys probably already know this, but I feel guilty about it, and I need to put the clean slate, which means we all have a little bit of work to do after these two slides.
In real life.
Okay,
you don't really have a lot of hobbies outside computing and hanging out with your family.
And here's what happened. I was asked to make a bio for myself, and I said, yeah, I don't have any hobbies. This is kind of awkward. I didn't. I was trying to focus on changing my life for the better, and consequently, still cat GIFs over there. I was trying to change my life for the better, and that was focusing off of the things I was spending time on, which weren't necessarily positive, and trying to put them in positive places with family and whatnot. And when I was asked, hey, what are your hobbies? It's like, I don't know. I just don't really have any. And someone said, well, let's just make something up. I was like, okay, well, I don't like carpentry, frisbee golf, and medieval architecture. It's not that I don't like it. It's that I know nothing about them. I can't play frisbee golf. I really can't build a house. And I don't know anything about castle, except for encastling in chess. That's it, right? So that ended up becoming my bio, which is not what I intended, but it happened. And then this happened.
A customer on a contract, we were working together, starts sending us pictures of his woodworking hobbies and his tree cutting and all of these things because he reconned Kent and figured out that Kent loved woodworking or not.
So it ended up in our bio, in our prop or something, or on the website. I don't really know what happened, but then the scrapers of the internet picked up my bio off BHS's website and said, hey, this guy is cool. Let's make a page about him. And then that happened. And then now you search my name, you find out that I like woodworking and medieval architecture and Frisbee golf, but it didn't stop there. Now I've got clients sending me woodworking pictures. Honestly, I feel for you. It's amazing. Like the work that they've sent me is like so beautiful. I'm jealous because I don't know anything about woodworking. I don't know how to play Frisbee golf, but now I get invited to play Frisbee golf. And sales engineers on LinkedIn will reach out to me like, hey, last year we went to Europe and we saw the most beautiful castles. Like, what do you think about castles? And I'm like, I don't know anything about castles.
Depends on the castle.
And it became very clear to me that whatever you put out on the internet doesn't care about the stuff that like actually matters, right? Or what I thought mattered. What I thought mattered was like the certifications, like everything I did for my career. I thought that all mattered. According to the internet, what mattered is that I liked medieval architecture, Frisbee golf, and woodworking that I knew nothing about. And I found that amusing, just that this really comes down to trying to make connections with people, right? I can't fault any of those people because some of them were our clients. And what they sent me was amazing. We built relationships off and it was cool. And I actually learned a lot about medieval architecture, not really anything about Frisbee golf because I didn't do it, but woodworking projects and medieval architecture I learned about. It was cool. That we said there was no bio about me. That's the bio about me.
But let's just switch back and make sure that we have kind of a focused executive problem statement for this deck.
God, we forgot that slide.
I know. It sounds to me like we're trying to discuss kind of in as light of terms as possible community and like binding together red teams, blue teams, sales, commercial. We want people to come together, right? I mean, it's not that we're not together, it's that there's all these wedges that are dividing us and making it difficult to.
What we found is that when we talk to even the people we work with, we say, hey, like, what do you do before you were at InfoSec? And they're like, well, we weren't in InfoSec. It's like the actors that like they worked at gas stations before they were actors. It's so crazy. And then we realized that's kind of like what happened to us. I didn't work in InfoSec before I was in InfoSec. Nobody worked in InfoSec before they were in InfoSec. I think it's just something that drove us to InfoSec because we wanted to do something that was different. And I don't know, if you look into it enough, I suppose you might say there's like an adverse to authority or something, but let's not look into it that much.
We also had one more advantage in creating this slide deck. We got to watch all the talks earlier. So a lot of your previous talks are referenced in here because of how much it matters to us, what you all share with us and what you share with the community to make the world a better place.
What does a translator have to do with information security? It turns out an awful lot. We learned that today.
Yeah,
as well as the CPA.
And I would say that part of my trajectory into InfoSec was also through that translation path, like getting hired to translate technical Spanish for, a level 1 help desk and building from there. But, David's talk about, holy cow, I think I got his name right. The NSA former hacker, red teamer, who started with Persian Farsi. It's a crazy trajectory. It doesn't matter where you are right now. There is a direction you can turn to head toward InfoSec.
So, you skipped a slide. You skipped the most important slide.
Important one.
Okay, so Jordan and I came from system adminning in some capacity, and we kind of reflected back yesterday. We realized something about information security. As systems administrators, we broke lots of things, and we joked about it because it was okay. And I think what happened when we reflected on it is pen testers are expected that if you break things, like there's kind of this expectation that like we paid you to go break into something, right? And tell us how you do it. We were paying you to break something. Systems administrators are paid to like not break anything.
But we broke way more things. A monumental amount of more things than we do as pen testers.
Police departments was a scary one. Radio stations. I went live on the air on a radio station once on accident. That was interesting. Accounting firms during tax season. Hospitals. My favorite.
Dumping
not my favorite.
A gigantic city.
Oh, it says we didn't do it. We're not admitting to these.
That's right. Yeah. So
we didn't do these things.
But what has been broken as a pen tester is my personal ego, because I realize every single day that I'm not as smart as any of you, and especially the combination of all of you.
We have learned so much, so much.
And as Chloe mentions, we are skirting these lines of ethics and morals between, what we do on a daily basis and committing felonies.
Also, lines on Earth they're so meaningful, but we realize how invisible they are. That's scary if you really think about it. All right. Let's get started in InfoSec.
Yeah, you want to get started in InfoSec, right? I had to email Dakota last night to remind me of this gentleman's name because I watched his talk at Usenix and had one of my, most visceral experiences as watching a YouTube video as I ever had. James Mickens can teach you a lot about speaking in public. He can teach you a lot about a lot of things. But if you go watch a couple of his keynotes, I guarantee you will not be dissatisfied at the end. But if you are going to join this community, at some point, we're going to ask you to share what you know. And that involves potentially getting up in front of a microphone and a video camera and explaining it to us.
And that can be tough.
You have to learn how to code in Perl.
You have to learn to know how to code in Perl. Actually, I put a little thing on here. It says, Ken's translation to this slide actually says learn Python, because that's way more effective than Perl. Sorry, Joff. I know. Actually, my first...
BB also loves Perl, but he's a wizard with it, so...
My first effective business program was written in Perl. I still joke about it because it wasn't that effective.
John, if you have any thoughts on Perl versus Python, we'd accept them at this point.
I don't think he wants to input on this.
Yes, he's got some strong opinions. And honestly, you're going to have to learn how to code or script or, you're going to have to learn how to automate some solutions. And there was a great talk as keynote this morning. Leslie tells us, and she is absolutely right in saying this, you don't want your operators to have to sit there and click through a lot of these research, confirm, operate, change, do things. This is what computers can do well if we can train them to do the things we want to do. So automate all the things.
I'm just saying, Perl is the absolute best write-only language. That's cute. Invest in the community. Okay, so I actually asked John a while back. I said, John, I understand what you're asking Jordan and I to do, and he's our mentor, so it was awesome, right? And he said, and I asked him, I was like, I need an understanding. I need a plan of what you're asking us to do. You want to change the world. We want to be there with you. We want to do that with you. Can you tell us how to do it? And he's like, dude, there's no plan. We're changing it, and we're going to be ready for that call when I tell you to do something different, because that's what we're going to do. I was like, no, I need to know what we're doing tomorrow. And he said, no, we're not doing that. I'll tell you if we need to pivot. And that is something incredible. And I think this comes down to investing in your community. Someone might look at Jordan and I, and we end up on a lot of webcasts together because we're trying to push the community. We're investing back in the community. And we want to really just say, get up and do it, right? I am not a professional speaker at all, by no means. In fact, in college, I used words like presentate. I was asked here to presentate something. Yeah, that was some fun.
That is fantastic.
By the way, I didn't do very well on that presentation. But
networking. No.
Networking.
The other networking. Which networking? Networking systems?
Social networking? It's almost social networking.
We're going a little fast through these slides, by the way.
Do we have to slow down?
I don't know if you do or not. I think you could probably pick up any one of these slides and then spawn out 4 or 5 different conversations in particular angles and go, down rabbit holes. But we want to cover the content, and it's flowing really nicely for us. So
here's the thing. None of the stuff we talked about so far until now was really that important.
No,
we didn't want to talk about ourselves, but we ended up talking about ourselves. That's why we went fast.
Indeed. So throughout my personal trajectory into this career, the connections I've had have really made the difference. For example, my boss at HP who gets thanked later. This is the lady who picked me up straight out of college, basically, and said, oh, hey, I see you're working in construction. You speak Spanish every day. You can come hang out with us, and we'll give you a chance as a contractor sitting in a desk at HP. And I was just absolutely thrilled. But from that moment, I had a mentor, and I had someone who could help me grow personally, and someone I could ask questions of, how to learn professionalism, how to communicate. And she also was pushy in that she had expectations that she voiced very clearly to every one of her employees. So this was the first person that really taught me some professional behaviors that made the difference. She helped me understand we all need connections to succeed. And she was that first connection for me. You have anyone like that, Kent? I'm curious.
Yeah, actually, so there's a couple. I mean, sure, there's everyone in their career has had mentors, or I hope they have, because that's where you really pivot your career into something much more. There's been a couple. One of the best project managers I worked for, she was amazing. She worked with big data, but she was a math major. Just the statistics. I learned so much about statistics, but more importantly, it was where I actually learned about workforce management, which sounds really boring, and it's actually really ugly in terms of what it means, and you get right down to it. But really great, because it allowed me to pivot to something else that I was passionate about, which was essentially workforce management, but in the other capacity of it. It was workforce capital. And that there's no longer about how many people you could stuff into a McDonald's like at the correct time to like get the most fries out and get the most money. It was now about knowledge and knowledge of capital management. And that was way, way more interesting. And that kind of helped me through that process. I think what's interesting about that is, you said, I can talk about how you make network connections. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
So you're adverse to Discord. And to me, I'm like, Discord's a real big mess of lots of connections.
This class, the class we held yesterday and the day before, really like Discord turned for me. It did that 180, and I changed my perspective, and I feel a lot better looking at Discord. It has changed the way I feel like I can interact with my computer system and the community writ large.
We got to props to Jason on this, because he also has a mentor that like helped him through and like said, hey, you should do this, which is cool. I don't know that story. That's for Jason to tell. But what I know is that Discord did not start with information security, right? That's not why it was built. At least
it may have started with Jason for information security. It sure feels like that here at BHIS, but
it's been pivotal for us for sure.
It's just built an entirely different community of people. That
other things that have changed for us, we've reached out to certain professional groups. ISACA is one. We've reached out to them. Actually, they reached out to us, which we weren't expecting. And then it's like, hey, this is actually a really great group. CIS reached out to us, and now we're kind of helping CIS on the side, which is pretty cool as well. And those are groups that, you have to ask, like, well, how did you network to get there? And it's like, well, we invested in the community before we actually got brought into those networks. And it's interesting from that perspective how that worked out, that before we were anybody, we were trying to change everything. And by investing in the community is where we really got picked up. And, John has really been awesome for us with that as well. And my translation here, network, get out there, help, ask for help, make the world a better place. And know that networking and gatekeeping, and remember when I said presentate, I had to ask Jordan how to pronounce this word today, because that's how great I am at public speaking, because I said contraindicated. And I said, I don't know what this word means, Jordan. And he said,
you're missing a dash. Or attack, John, thank you. You're missing attack in the middle of contra and indicated.
I'm like, oh, it's contraindicated. I thought it said contraindicated. I don't know what that word means. So that's you know what that gains for me, though, from public speaking, because someone asked about that, is I have a lot of humility, because if I don't, I'm going to say presentate and feel really, really bad about it.
So I have a question here. I'm trying to think personally of anything that I have learned in the last 15 years working with network systems, working in a business setting, wearing a tie some days. Like, is there anything you've learned in those 15 years that you have not shared in the last 5 through BHIS platform?
No, I think that 15 years of my career has been, what I've found interesting about this actually is that this is a platform. John gave us a platform that we could talk about this, and it actually seemed to make a difference for people, which I didn't expect. I didn't think anybody cared. And it turns out that, yeah, people are very interested. And that said, okay, well, if they're interested in what we have to talk about, like, let's talk about that. Like, and I think that was us just wanting to invest in the community and also follow that idea that we can make the world a better place. And we're not doing that just by handling workforce management template forms all day long, right? Saying how do we get the most money for, the person at McDonald's? That wasn't that great. It was kind of lame, in fact. And this is a platform that I feel like I'm making a lot more change in the industry, and that's not about me.
Do we have an OSS slide, or is this okay?
Yeah,
I thought so.
Of course we do. Oh wait, before we talk about that.
Okay, hang on. Sorry. We're turning to.
This was the networking slide where we talk about how great Twitter is, and Discord, and LinkedIn, and Facebook, and local computer groups, and going to schools and teaching students about information security, right?
As soon as we get those invites back, I guarantee you we'll be back in RCAS. I already have a couple invites for us to come hang out again with one, the school district to do a virtual career fair for high school kids. Now, this is a relationship we got because BHIS and our relationship with where we are placed in South Dakota, we have some invites to sit on the board of the school districts to help, formulate a path forward for, say, high schoolers. They're trying to implement something called an academies model where high school kids get to pick more directly some work-based specific skills, right? So they want to be, digital graphics and design. There's a channel for them to go in high school now. They want to learn computer science. They want to learn medical sciences. They get to do some very basic things in these channels which teach some very specific job-focused skills. Now, this was something we did that helped us network through our school district, and now we're being invited back to come hang out for virtual career fairs, teach these kids all kinds of fun things.
By the way, so I know this for a fact, some people are adverse to public speaking. I want to tell you something that happened in front of a school district with, this is terrible, with the superintendent, with 2 sets of high school teachers. The entire faculty was there from 2 different high schools, probably 300 people or so, maybe more. Jordan and I are talking. They invited us as panelists for a discussion about doing better for kids in the future.
This was great. This is great.
And I got up and I said the word pivotal, which I don't even know if it's a word now that I said it. I think I may have been trying to say the word pivotable, but that's not a word either. So then not only did I pick up on it, the fact
He
that
wanted to take something and pivot,
yes,
but it wasn't pivotal.
Okay,
wrong word,
here's
wrong
what
definition.
happened. There was 4 panelists, right? Jordan and I are 1 and 2. There's 2 more. I said the word pivotable that I couldn't pronounce during a presentation, right? And Jordan, he knows that I get stuck on words sometimes, so I'm better just trying to talk myself out of it. Meanwhile, the 2 next to me look at me when I say these words that aren't words. The next thing that comes out of his mouth is like, this is really a pivotal moment in my life. And I looked at him, I'm like, I don't think that's a word. And he kind of shook his head. Now, bear in mind, this is where Jordan and I were invited to talk because we're
professional.
We're professional as we show up in hoodies for this conference. And I start saying words that aren't words. It was great. Humility was a thing. What is the craziest thing about that? And why I wanted to bring this up in terms of public speaking is before I left, I had teachers that came up to me and said, hey, will you come talk to our classrooms? I mean, you personally, and Jordan can come too, but we really think you'd be a motivation for our classes if you could come talk to our students, some of our challenged students that are having, and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, you sure me? And that was when I realized that humility is okay. Because if it wasn't presentate and it wasn't pivotable and contraindicated, I would lose my head. I'm glad no one makes fun of me too much for it.
I am prepared to reach down to my book and turn the page.
Of all these social networks that we could talk about, we are going to talk about Twitter.
My wife changed the language I used in the slide deck today about 1:30. And that's because the language I used was maybe not appropriate, but it's still, I think she kind of cleaned it down a little bit.
I still think it's a dumb.
And really, Twitter's been rough. It used to be a place where I felt comfortable going to even just read things and find, a reasonable article to go learn some new technique, something to try, some research, something going on with some, industry, something specific. And it just feels like a mess. I mean, it feels like an absolute
people
mess.
like TikTok use it a lot. Okay, Ken's translation to this slide is next slide, please. I don't even want to talk about it. Next slide, broken glass in the neighborhood. Okay, for those that have gone through business, you're probably aware of this. This was back from, I think, New York. Back in New York days when they tried to change everything in New York. And the way they did it was they said, the broken glass theory is essentially that if you're in a community and there's a broken glass, a pane of glass that's broken, that just having that pane of broken glass will actually increase the crime in the community. Not because it's broken and somehow the glass made more crime, but because people in the community neglected to fix it. And because the neglect was visible, that meant to criminals that crime was tolerated. Now, it's not a one-for-one relationship, but statistics showed that it actually made sense. What we're witnessing and why this follows the Twitter is there is some broken glass in InfoSec. I don't even want to talk about it because it's not my place. I just want to point it out and say that's ridiculous and move on from it. Okay.
And you do that consistently. Anytime I bring up some topic of even reasonable, like, if it skirts that fence of appropriate or not between ourselves and our personal lives, it's always like, no, man.
Our families get together, and it's funny because there are certain conversations that will start, immediately pivot, and we know why. All right. Windows Update.
So this book reference, though, here.
Yes.
This book reference is fantastic. It is, broken windows, broken businesses, the smallest places to start can have these huge impacts.
If you have broken glass in your life, this is metaphor, right? If you have broken glass in your life, actually, if you have broken glass in your house, fix it also. It'll help your neighborhood. Statistically proven. But if you have broken glass in your life, fix it, repair it, mend it. It might not be easy to do. I know this. I went through it about 7 years ago. It's not easy, but it's necessary, and your life will only catapult after you do it. You also get really great relationships out of it. Okay, so Windows updates are progressive and necessary, right? Windows updates, well, I don't know what the context is, but Windows updates are progressive and necessary. That applies to Windows. No, Life Windows, right?
Do you want to talk about what happened in class, or is this leading?
No, this is broken glass theory. Windows.
I get
Repair
it.
those
I get
broken
it.
yeah, and also Windows updates, but whatever. Repair broken windows in our community. If you see them, you don't necessarily have to get fired up about it, but it's okay to, in my opinion, it's okay to either do something about it or, actually, my wife's a behavioral analyst. She'll say, so you put something on extinction. What that means is if someone gets really pissed off, it's because they're doing it because they want attention. And extinction is done by not giving them what they asked for, which is attention. Also, be accountable. This comes back from John saying, Ken, if you're going to be an influencer, be responsible for what you say. Be accountable for it. Negativity is contagious. It's also dangerous. Positivity is also contagious, but I don't think it's really dangerous. I don't see how it could be.
Something we say in our household is don't feed the dynamite monkeys. And that's because, people carrying around with lit charges should be, left to their own devices.
Monkeys also throw things at people. Make the world a better place.
Yeah, that was Ken's translation to that entire last slide is
Make the world a better place.
make the world a better place. If you can't do it yourself, help make the world a better place. This is another one, Kentism, I guess we could call it at this point. Digital
Digital citizenshipery. Come on, man. This is digital citizenshipery.
So it's digital combat on the internet these days in all regards. We are under information warfare. We exposed our entire class labs to the internet and then started looking through Elastic's amazing Elasticsearch Kibana tool set at what it looks like when you expose services to the internet. We are seeing, I think it was at least every 6 seconds, we were seeing some form of authentication attempt against our exposed services. You are literally walking into a combat zone when you accept installing an app on your phone or putting a service on the internet. It's tough out there. People are getting paid to make us think things that aren't true.
Do you know how many calls I get about the extended warranty on my vehicle?
Exactly.
I mean, first off, I probably need one, but second off, I don't need one that bad.
No. So this slide to me, translated, is we need to work on being good digital citizens, helping our kids understand what being good digital citizens is. We need to help, my parents, who definitely don't understand two-factor, but know that if they go to their banking portal and then their phone buzzes after they log in, that they enter the code. They don't care that it's called 2FA. They just, I go to my phone now and I put this thing in there. Fine. Okay. I get it. Accepting that OSINT is a part of our lives, that everything we put on the internet will never go away. And in fact, it will follow us and haunt us potentially forever, right? Is that stuff haunting you though?
I did not put something on here that I could have, which is a website I built in when I was in middle school.
And now you can't get rid of it. It's still out there.
It's still out there. Someone's going to find it. You can find it by searching my name. It's ridiculous.
Isn't there a BHIS site like that? We could never find the ownership of?
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is crazy out there. So try to be good digital citizens. Help those around you who are less fortunate, maybe in their understanding of information security and the ramifications of using bad passwords, help people understand, share your knowledge. We know there's a lot of knowledge, and a lot of you, here can make the world a better place just by sharing your knowledge.
All right. So this is
Marcello's slide and Roberto's slide and all the open source contributors that make Kent and my class possible, including John and the whole team. Everybody who's sharing open source software right now is giving up part of their lives, making a sacrifice to make the world a better place.
Talk about a way to open up doors, though. Let me tell you, this will do it. This will definitely do it. If you put your effort into putting something out there that others are also putting themselves out to, that builds a community. And when that community is built, that you become part of it. And there's some mutual respect to be gained there a lot. We did have something interesting asked in class yesterday, and that was, it seems like some open source projects never make it out of alpha. There's one in particular that we actually talked about in class, which actually relates to opening doors. But what's interesting to it from our perspective is we had to call out for what it was, and that is open source, the open source software community, right? They can actually force commercial and closed source industries to react. You can force that big behemoth that's out there, you can make it do something. You don't even have to be part of it, just by OSS. And where is that more relevant than with CVEs, right? However, there's also that thing with that 0 day this year where a security researcher thought it would be good to research security researchers, which was interesting. And I mean, I don't know if it was a troll or not. I'm not even going to say it was bad. Here's the thing. It was not as cute as a kitten. There's no cute story there. But in reality, it was probably necessary. And I think it kind of brings me to the point that, like, I carry humility with me because I kind of have to, because I use words like presentate. However, not everybody in the industry does that. But for some reason, this POC for a 0 day that did, that actually was not the 0 day at all and was just enforcing the fact that people weren't reading code before they execute it.
I finally have connected with which one you were talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It should have, and this was probably not the intention, but it should have made people think, oh, did I just do that? I should probably learn Python before I run this code.
It does bring up the point that, the OSCP makes really clearly. If you're going to run code, you had better take a good long look at what that code does before you execute it. This is painful, and it's so common. New CVE, all of us go search CVE -number exploit. What's out there? Add the word GitHub if you're not finding it on, exploit DB or in the Sploitus database. It's rough out there. This also reminds me of the crack Wi-Fi one. Somebody had posted a set of instructions that basically have you run sudo, grab a package, execute the package, and that sent shell into their comments forum. And then the comments bot immediately responds to that comment and says, hey, another person coming from this IP address who executed my code without consideration for its potential impacts.
It's out there. And here's the thing. Good hackers are going to hack, good developers are going to develop, and good leaders are going to lead. As for what is effectively a security researcher researching security researchers, I mean, honestly, apparently it was necessary. And it pointed out something very real, that we needed to slow down what we were doing and be,
better digital citizens?
Yeah.
Is it?
Citizenshipery, I think is what we're looking for.
The top end of that is the person writing the exploit. Are they being a good citizen? By demonstrating flaws down the chain, I guess. Is it? I don't know. I'm
That's
having
a
a hard
question
time putting that one
about
together.
0 days and responsible disclosure, isn't it? All right. So where do we go from there? John gave us the opportunity to create a class and teach what we knew. And that's been something interesting, such an adventure, right? And it's been awesome. But more specifically, we don't want to bring that up right now. What we want to bring up is the fact that we knew something that other people didn't, and we
put together a whole lot of other disparate research to make sense of the situation we were inside.
We took what we knew, we added to it, and we stood on the shoulders of giants. And
thank you, Marcello.
Yeah, we really wanted to try to make that information democratized and really try to be able to better the world. That was the whole point. That's why all of this is affordable and why we're up here, and it's the reason we're doing it. Now, in terms of why we talk about Atomic Purple Team here, like 2 seconds worth, is that it's a way to try to better the information security in your own environment and do so with the respect that costs money. That's all I'm going to talk about. All right, mentor programs. This is good.
This is coming up, and
We're
if
still talking about the community.
Jason, if you're around, you can jump in here and say hi on the slide. This was mentioned in email, just a quick
There he
email, and it's basically like,
He's such a frowny face. He's like Grumpy Cat right now.
the email that went out to BHIS testers basically said this: we want to do more in our Discord community. We want to engage that community more. And this is what Kent and I came up with based on, like reading Twitter. If we talk about Tanya and Mentor Monday, like finding a way for people to come together and help other people who are trying to get into our field. Jason, what do you want to describe the drive, the motivation here? I mean, do I have it?
We know.
correct?
I know that you have a relationship with a mentor that's really helped you too, and that has consequently helped BHIS. So maybe can you kind of like help us out understand that, because we've had now multiple times in our classes people have said, "Hey, there's not many mentorship programs out there. Could you guys mentor us?" And we said we don't have a platform for that, but that's a great idea.
Right. So I do these live streams twice a week on job hunting and things. And one of the topics that comes up is mentorship. And there are a lot of people who are afraid to take that step of asking someone to be a formal mentor. And it isn't like the very first conversation. Like I wouldn't go up to someone I haven't talked to or never talked to before and say, would you be my formal mentor? I think that would be awkward for everybody. It's like, hey, would you like to get married to a stranger you just met? But if you do know someone and you do admire somebody and you do see the work that they're putting out and you're like, hey, the first conversation is, how did you get to where you got to? And what advice would you have for someone like me at my stage in my career? Like, that's a great place to get started in that conversation.
It's fine. We love families. It's family here at BHIS. Thank you for sharing. And we definitely wanted you to jump in and say something. Thanks for being there, listening, paying attention. We are following Jason's lead a lot on community because he has driven this community. Him, Deb, Velda, the entire back-end support staff for BHIS have really created a gigantic community here. And it's family in a lot of ways. So we are going to try to help, grow that or bring that together a little more.
I think in the process of our careers, I thought we were going to talk about that much better. Anyways, we made a lot of painful lessons. We learned a lot of painful lessons. We really made some too. And not everybody has to replay those in first person to be able to gain the knowledge from them and the experience from them. And I think that's kind of what mentoring comes in as well. It's a great place, especially when it comes down to like mental health.
Nice lead right there.
Yeah. So I know from
I was looking for more resources here. We ran out of time.
In my personal life, I've had to deal with this. So I know it's intimate to me. Depression is real. Isolation is making this worse. And COVID-19 is like crazy. From Jordan and I's perspective, we teach a class, right? And it's a class that we built together, and it's a class that we co-teach because it's much more effective, and we feel the students get more out of it that way. If you've ever tried to co-teach without being able to like see each other, it's very difficult. Don't worry, we're maintaining more than 6 feet of space right now, even though we're in the same room. But listen, if you need help, ask for help. There's people out there that just ask for help. And I think we had some serious conversations earlier today in talks that really, I think, point out the need for this as well. So
yeah, InfoSec PTSD was a term that was explicitly stuck in my head. InfoSec PTSD, and I don't have that, but what I have is when I get a hold of an NTDS DIT file, I feel so bad. Like my morals and ethics, like now I got to go crack some passwords, and that's all that stuff. Like I have feels for those. Now, if you need mental health resources, Jason and team have also put together a huge set of resources in Discord. So go look in Discord. If you need help, ask for it.
Inspire. If we didn't have someone that inspired us, that we looked up to, we certainly wouldn't be here. John gave us an opportunity, and we latched on and didn't want to let it go. And there were times that John, even looked at us and said, "Hey, hold up," and we kind of had to we used him as a mentor, and that was big. And I think what really comes down to here is we have a lot of people to thank This isn't like the Emmys where we're going to list off like 400 people. Is it the Emmys that do that? I don't know.
I don't either.
But
It's
there are
totally
some.
the Emmys.
I think they've got like reduced viewership
It's
too.
totally the Emmys.
Also, viewership is a real word.
Thank you. Joff, too. He has been a mentor for me early on when I was trying to learn about very basic execution. He helped me understand his framework, how to use it, how to get once you get those basics, you can go do your own research. But Joff was there for me when I needed to learn a bit more about execution than I understood. So thank you, Joff.
Something interesting about networking that's related to this as well is when Jordan and I started our class, we used what's called HELC, the Hunting Elastic Bound Log Stash. And we ended up starting to needing to make pull requests, pull requests.
Pull.
And then that led to a conversation with the lead maintainers. And then that led to a conversation with basically a beer in our hands with the developer. And if that's not a way to go, that was inspiration for us. And that was just us investing in the community. And then that put us into a network
and standing on the shoulders of the people who, built the open source solutions that we could then re-support thanks to John and his demands of us and our time and the financials of the classes always kick back a portion of the open source. So this created a whole new relationship for, Microsoft's threat researchers, SOC Prime. Just going to shout out a couple here: Elastic, Black Hills, Marcello, all these people who have contributed significantly to our success selling a course, standing on their work.
Enough of this slide. You said
hang on though.
Wow.
This tomato picture was taken today, and I wanted to thank that tomato picture. This was my miracle tomato. I had one last tomato, and it was about this big, and it had 2 leaves that couldn't have been, bigger than a dime each. Put it in my driveway in the corner, and I kept tying it up on that post, and now I've got these gigantic Brandywines. I mean, they are huge tomatoes hanging off of this thing. So Miracle Tomato, thank you. Hacks for Pancakes. This was my slide too. The keynote was amazing. If you didn't catch it, go check out the slides, and then go watch the video when this thing gets released. She has made a lot of points that will help me write better reports and produce better executive summaries going forward. And here is why. 1, when a pen tester comes into your organization and you have to dig for networks and subnets, that is a problem. You should have been way ahead of that. Can you have that network map ready to go? I mean, I'm asking systems administrators paying attention here. Send a ticket into your system. Create some event or calendar. Create a basic network map. Make it better over time. We need to know your subnets. And for these forensic investigators and incident handlers and responders that you bring into your environment, another point she made. You don't want to pay a prime time responder, like a principal security incident responder's wage to come into your network and learn your network system services names and conventions for you. These are things you need to have ready. Understanding your log sources and your log destinations, where they are, and making all of that stuff easy. Jeff McJunkin, his points about, holy cow, Sysmon. I loved hearing it, Jeff. It is an amazing EDR. We preach it so heavily in our class. It is among the best solutions out there. It is undermarketed, and it is free. It is in this situation where it doesn't need marketing, but it doesn't have marketing. It maybe should have marketing, but that might put those commercial dollars behind it. Sysmon is the best available EDR. I don't, but you have to know what to do with those logs.
It was updated last week for our class. I used it.
Point being, you cannot stop 100% of incidents. You cannot. Absolutely cannot. You can reduce the time to detection. And that is what needs to happen. So everyone, please go give a shout out to Jeff. Go give a shout out to Leslie. They know what they're talking about, and listen to them.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We're almost there.
Yeah, this is pretty much it.
I honestly, if we get done with this early enough, might have a chance of getting home before John's mixology talk. That would be cool for me. I wouldn't mind that. There's a lot going on here. Jordan and I are just thankful to be here.
Yeah,
we're happy that you guys are with us. This is the last slide. So
and if any of you want to come up, Job, bring your videos live. Come hang out for a couple minutes.
Absolutely.
We, like,
It's been fantastic. And realistically, we know that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And by the way, does anybody watch The Flash? If you don't watch The Flash, spend like 5 minutes watching.
you're talking about the series on Netflix.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that one. Yeah.
Oh,
There's a
I haven't
scene.
watched it.
There's a scene that John told me to go watch, and it is amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. It's the hallway scene, one room after another.
After you watch,
Daredevil? Do you guys mean
So,
Daredevil?
Oh, that's exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Okay. Here's the
Okay.
thing.
All
After
right.
you watch,
All right.
Brian, after you watch one episode, go look in the mirror. That's it. That's all I got.
I've watched. Well, I didn't watch
Okay,
it.
Thomas Shelby, can you do your hair flip for us? Okay, I think he looks like Thomas Shelby.
Actually, that's one straight back.
Oh, hang on, Jordan. I'll do a hair flip for you.
In solidarity, so will I.
There it is.